Last thing, we do have a WeVideo outline, and this is basically just the outline of the presentation that I'm going to be going over right now. And I am going to paste that link into the chat right now. So if you want to have a copy of the outline for later, that link is going out in the chat. It is long, it is ugly, but if you highlight it, copy, and paste it into your browser, you'll be able to get that. So I'm going to start straight away with WeVideo. The URL to get to WeVideo is wevideo.com, and I am recording that in the chat there right now. One of the most important things to remember about WeVideo is that all staff and students already have a premium account purchased, but in order to get that premium account, and by the way, just side note, the premium account is way better than the free version. To get that premium account, you have to click sign in with Google when you go to wevideo.com. So make sure that you do that. If you go down here and you try to set up your own account with your own email, even if you use your district email, you're going to land in the free account, and you're just going to be missing out on a lot of the features. So we're going to click to sign in with Google. Now, the first time that you do this, you're going to have to allow a whole bunch of permissions for WeVideo. It's going to want to be saving videos in your drive. It's going to want access to your camera. It's going to want all those things. As long as you just go ahead and click allow in all of them, you'll be ready to edit your videos at will. So that's really nice. But the first time you do it, you will have to click allow for a whole bunch of things. Also, before we go any farther, during one of the computer updates, some of the computers missed what's called the media feature pack, which is a group of drivers that we have to have in order for WeVideo to access your camera. So if you try to use the recording on your webcam and you see a message come up that says something like, you know, we can't access your camera, or there's an error and it won't let you record from your web camera, where we are right now is you'll need to fill out a help desk ticket and make sure that you ask the help desk to install the media feature pack. And I'll write the media feature pack in chat right now. It's probably not going to happen, but to enough people it happens that I think it's worth mentioning. Okay, so once you allow all the permissions and you sign in with Google, let's take a look at getting started and making a video. So as with any software, there's different ways that you can go about starting this. I know for some people, starting in projects is where they like. For me, I prefer just launching straight away and starting in a video. Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat, somebody's already saying, my web camera has an error. Yeah, it's so unfortunate, but yeah, please do a help desk ticket. So it's asking me where I want to store this video edit. And eventually, when you start doing a lot of these, you'll start organizing your videos into projects. But for the first one, you probably won't get that prompt. And you'll be taken right here. And this is the WeVideo editing dashboard. One thing that I really wish wasn't the case with WeVideo, but it is that it lands you, when you start your project, in the stock media folder. And the stock media is awesome because there are literally millions of video and audio and still image clips that you can use for your videos, but it doesn't really help you with recording the lessons that you want to do for continuous learning from home. So the spot that you want to look for is this My Media folder right here where my cursor is. So when I click My Media, this is where I get all the options to import videos or images that I already have, to record new stuff, like whether you're recording using your webcam or screencasting. And I'm going to pause there for a minute when I say that word screencasting. When I say the word screencasting, what I mean is you're able to record the things that you're doing on your screen. So it's kind of similar, if you think about it, to how Brian is recording this Zoom meeting right now. He's recording the things that I'm doing on my screen. And this is what you're able to do with WeVideo as well. Then you also have the option to record with what you're doing on your screen, the screencast, and also have a little picture of your face that is talking while you're showing what you're doing. So there's several features in there. And then you also have the option to just record narration. And this will just be like on a voiceover track. So if you wanted to show a series of images and just hear your voice talking, that is a possibility right there. So I think what we'll do is go ahead and just launch into some of the basics of screencasting and show you how some of that works. So again, I'm in My Media and I click this record button. And I have these three options right now to record from my webcam or from my screen or the screen and the webcam simultaneously. Now, while I'm doing this Zoom meeting, it actually won't allow me to access my webcam or the screen and webcam since my webcam is being used for Zoom. So my only option right now is to record my screen. But what you'll notice when you start doing this yourself is if you want to use your webcam recording versus the screen recording, the editing features are pretty much the same. So I'm going to click screen and click next. And it's going to ask what default microphone I want. If you don't have a headset yet, it does make the audio on your videos sound a little bit better. So it might be kind of worth looking into a microphone headset if you're going to be doing a lot of these, but it will work. The microphone that's built into your laptop will work without it too. It just depends on how much background you want. I know in our house, we have 2 young kids and a lot of times we've got Frozen on. And as much as I love Frozen, I don't necessarily want it in the background of my videos. So I'm going to click next because I'm going to use my headset. And then I get to select the screen I want to record. And I actually have 2 monitors here at home right now, which also is really nice. But I'm going to click to share this screen right here. And then it's going to give me a countdown from 3. And then after this hits 0, everything I do is starting to record. So I am recording this right now. And something that really bugs me is when I start recording, I've got this little white WeVideo is sharing your screen message at the bottom. And I just don't like that there because it's going to be in your video the whole time. So I can click hide. And the problem with hiding it, well, what's awesome about hiding it is we don't see it in our video anymore. The problem with hiding it is it hides really, really well, and sometimes it's hard to find. So when you want to stop your share, if you hid that, you click on the Chrome wheel icon at the bottom of your screen, and then you can see all of the different windows pop up. And one of the windows is that hide stop sharing. So that's where you end up finding it. I know when I've done these in the past, people will click hide on this and they cannot find where it goes and hide. So just remember, you can get it back by clicking on the Chrome icon and then you click you'll see it there and then you can start going again. So far, everything I've done has been recorded, and that should be enough to give us an idea of how we can go about editing this. So I'm going to pull back this stop sharing and then click stop sharing. And it's going to give me a little preview of what I've done. And I'm going to just go with this. And so if I'm happy with what I've done, I click save. If I'm not happy with it, I can just record again immediately. But I love what I've done here, so I'm going to click save. And then it'll take a little bit of time to process. And hopefully you can see, I see Joan's comment, you can't see the bottom of my screen. I am so sorry about that. Those Zoom controls get in the way of everything. Basically what I was showing is how to get that hide and stop sharing. And what you have to remember is the Chrome icon, the icon for Google Chrome should be at the bottom. And then if you click on that, you'll see the different windows that are open. So thanks for mentioning that, Joan, I appreciate it. I was actually walking people through WeVideo yesterday and those Zoom controls were really getting in the way. So you can see by this blue line that's moving on the bottom of the clip that right now it's processing. And what it's really doing is uploading this video into WeVideo's system, which is online. And that takes a little bit of time. You can see that the video is already populated on my video 1 track. And we'll talk about what that means here in just a little bit. But I just want to point out that until that line stops processing, if you start editing this and listening to the sound or the audio, it's going to sound absolutely atrocious. And you're going to be like, oh man, I've got to redo this recording. You don't worry. You just need to wait for that to stop processing. And you see how we don't have that blue line going across any longer. And so now I can start to work with this clip to edit it. So what we have here in our editing dashboard is there are two video tracks, video 1 and video 2. And a good way to think about these is to consider them as being in layers, and that anything that you put in video 2 is going to be layered on top of video 1. So video 1 is kind of your base layer, and then you can add anything that you want on top of that base layer. Okay? You can slide around in your video clip using this little blue thing with the scissor icon, and this, it has a name, and its name is the Playhead. And the Playhead is a really important editing tool for WeVideo, because if I decide that, hey, you know, the first 5 or so seconds of my video, and this is up in the top right, I can preview it. So if I click play here, it's showing me what I've recorded here. And if I decide like, hey, the first 6 seconds was awful because I was just getting set up, I can just move the playhead to wherever I want to be. And let's say I wanted it at 6 seconds. And by the way, it gets really, really touchy. And so if I just got it right at 6 seconds, usually that doesn't happen. You can use your arrow keys to move the playhead around too. And one click on an arrow key will move it 1/100th of a second at a time. So that's just kind of a good strategy to get it right where you want it. And I want to cut out the first 6 seconds, and it's right there at 6. So I just click the scissor icon. And what that's done now is split this track into 2 pieces. And since I don't want that beginning part where I was just starting to record, I can click on it and it's highlighted in orange. And when it's highlighted in orange, that means that's what's active. And now I can just touch backspace on my computer keyboard and that part of the clip disappears. So what that means now is that beginning part is gone. And so I can add something else in here, or I can just slide this whole clip over and then it'll start exactly where I want to start the video from. So I actually am going to slide the thing back over a little bit, because what I'm going to do is add a title to this. And one nice thing that you can use, and it's just a feature that WeVideo has, is use their backgrounds. And the background is up here, kind of in the toward the top. And there's lots of different choices for backgrounds, and they all have a nice little motion. And whenever you want to preview something on WeVideo, if you click it once, it'll play it for you over in the preview pane. So this one's called Golden Streaks, and I'm just going to think, hey, that's nice. I really love it. So, and I want it to start my video. So I'm going to click and drag down and put it on the video 1 track right next to and partially overlapping the clip that I've just created. And then after I've dragged it down to video 1, I release, and it's going to give me 2 options. Right now, that Golden Streaks background is 10 seconds long. Believe it or not, 10 seconds is really long in the world of digital video. So I don't want it to be that long. And so I'm going to select this trim to fit, which means that it's going to cut that clip to fit in there. If I did want it to be the entire 10 seconds, I could select insert and push, and that means it's going to push my longer clip over so that I can have the entire 10 seconds as it rolls. But like I said, 10 seconds is pretty long for a title, especially with digital videos. So I'm going to click trim to fit, and now you can see that it's cut it down. Now I want to add some text so I can have a title here. So if I click on the text tab, also up here at the top. By the way, something else that people get frustrated with about WeVideo is if there are many, many places where you can scroll. And so these tabs up here, they're super duper important. But you can also accidentally hide them if you scroll down a little too far. And of course, my computer's not going to let me do it right now. But if you can't see this stuff, that just means you're scrolled down, and you need to make sure that you scroll back up, and then they'll be visible again. So I'm going to put in a text title, and all of these ones actually will have a little animation or motion to them. If you don't want the words and all that moving around and you just want it to sit there, there's several other places you can go. There's this one that's static, which means they'll just sit there without any motion at all. So if you need people to take extra time to read them, that might be a better choice. For this example, I'm just going to grab the first motion one. And what I do here again is just click on it and then drag it down to video 2. Now, the reason why I added it to video 2 is because, as I stated earlier, these video tracks are like a layer. So anything I put in video 2 up above is going to show up like on top of what's in the video 1 track. So if I slide this over, my playhead over, I see in my preview pane that I have the golden streaks in the background, and it says "in with a whisper" as my text on the top. But the problem is, more than likely, your title for this is not going to be "in with a whisper." So you can edit any of this stuff by just double clicking on the clip when it's in the track. So I'm going to double click on it, and it opens this editor up for me. And by default, it's just called "in with a whisper," but that name makes no sense. So I'm going to call this, the best video in the world, because undoubtedly it is. Now, if you don't like the way that it looks with the white on the gold or whatever, you can change the color. And so you can decide, hey, maybe black stands out a little bit more. That's a way to do that. You are able to adjust the size of the font if you wanted it a little bit bigger. Then you can see it increasing over there. Another thing that people aren't always aware of with WeVideo is you're not stuck with where it is on the screen. If you look in the preview pane, they're kind of hidden, but you can see these little handles in the corners. And so if I clicked and dragged that, it's going to shrink it up a little bit, but then I also have the ability to move this thing around. So if I wanted my title up in the corner, it could do that. And then if I wanted to see the preview, I can see how that's going to look in my video. And then when I'm done with where it is and I'm happy, I can just click Save Changes. And then I can see that this title is there on top of my golden background. So that is how we can go about doing that. Another thing that you can add, which can be really nice sometimes, is to add a little bit of music. So there's a lot of preloaded music on this in the audio tab. And it's organized into these 3 different folders. There's sound effects here too. So let's say I wanted to start this with an animal sound effect with pigs in the background, because who wouldn't? And so I'm going to click and drag that down to my audio track. And then I have this long audio of pigs making pig sounds in the background of this video. Now you can see that this is 30 seconds long, and that would be a long time to hear the voices of pigs in the beginning of a video. Honestly, probably any amount of time is too long. But we can cut that down by sliding our playhead to where we want to cut it. And maybe I only want it in the intro. So you see I've slid the playhead over to where that introduction stops. And now my audio track, and I do apologize if Zoom controls are covering this up, but if you can imagine, it looks like an audio track, and right now it's highlighted in orange. And that's what's really important, is to make sure that it's highlighted. And I can click on the scissor icon, and that's going to cut that clip in 2. I'm going to click on the section I don't want, press backspace on my keyboard, and now I have this audio track of the pigs in this case. Now, one thing to know about WeVideo is it defaults to having volume that's way, way too loud. And I wish they didn't do this, but it's just kind of the way it is. If you leave it at full volume and people are watching your videos on headphones, it will hurt their ears and you won't be able to hear their voices if there's a voiceover track. So there's 2 ways to turn down the audio. If you want it consistent across the entire audio track, you can use this slider to slide the audio down to a lower volume, and that'll lower the volume on the entire audio track. Another option is in those audio clips, you can, there's these little white circles, and we call them handles, and you can click and drag those handles down, And the sweet spot I've found with video, with WeVideo volume, is in order to hear the voiceover and to make it so that people's ears don't hurt and you don't get complaints about the background sound, is about 10%. And that seems really low, but 10% is about where you want it. So right now, the way I've set it is this will start at 10% volume and then increase to 100% volume. So you'll get this massive crescendo, and that really doesn't make sense. But what you can do is grab the handle over on the right-hand side and drag that down to 0. And what that will mean now is that it starts at a 10% volume, which is actually a nice volume for a backing track or background sound effects or whatever you're doing. And then that will fade down to 0 volume at all. And then people can really focus on the remarks and your voiceover and what you're saying in your video. So it gives it a nice polished look to add some music or sound effects, but you just want to make sure those sounds are turned down. Also, if you go through and you see that, gosh, I really don't like any of the sound effects and I don't really like any of the premium music that they have, remember how when we started, it landed us in that stock media folder? Well, you can actually look for songs in stock media. And if you wanted to just say like, you know, calm piano songs, and then change from all to audio, it will give you a really nice selection of different songs that you can hear. Now, when I shared my screen, I didn't check the box to let you hear my own audio. But if I click on any of these, it'll play a preview for me and I can hear whether or not I like that song. And then if I do like that song, like, oh, melancholic solo piano, this is perfect for this video, I can click and drag it and put it on the audio track rather. And so my video is going to start out with pig sound effects. It's going to roll into melancholic piano. 100% is way too loud, so I'm going to turn that down to 10 or 8 even. Air on the side of it being lower would just be my tip for you on that one. And then I can slide over and lower the volume all the way down. And I probably don't want this music to extend past my track. So I'm going to cut it there and delete that out. So that's how you can insert songs and audio. Other options for audio though is in My Media. You can also, come on computers, catch up with me. There we go. You can also choose to narrate, and this is where you'll be recording your voice. So if I click narrate, it's going to give me this option. So I've got this red microphone, pretty clear what we do there. If I click on this, it's going to give me a countdown and start recording. What preview while recording means is if you want to watch the video as it goes, and you really probably do, because then you know what you're saying when you're supposed to be saying it. And it'll also have this option to mute the audio, which means that if you did put something in like pig sound effects and you didn't want to hear that while you were recording, you would check that, and that way you wouldn't hear what other sound was in your video. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the microphone, and it's going to give me that countdown. And now everything I'm saying is being recorded and put on a track that I can use in my video. When I'm happy with what I have, I just click stop. I can click the check mark and then it's done. If I don't like what I've just done, I'm like, oh my gosh, I stuttered. I said things too fast. I said things too slow, whatever. You can click on this microphone icon again, and then it will record another time. But I'm just going to say that I'm pretty happy with what I have. I'm going to click done. And what this will do is save that narration, save that audio recording onto its own voiceover track, which I can scroll down to see. And here it is. And I am able to edit this just like I've edited the other tracks. Now with your voiceover, you probably do want it turned all the way up to 100%, because that's going to be what you really want people to hear when you're watching that video. That's what you really want. So we don't need to really edit the volume very much there. So just a couple more things that I think are worth mentioning. On these tabs on the top, I'm going to click back into stock media, because there are just some pretty cool things, and it's nice if you're looking to add visual effects onto your videos or whatever. So let's say you were teaching a unit about deserts or something, and you wanted to include pictures of deserts in your video. Make sure, first of all, that you're going to be able to see everything, so it doesn't need to be filtered. I typed in the word desert and pressed enter on my keyboard. And then I have all of these clips that I'm free to use to put in my video that would show desert landscape. So this 10-second one kind of showing this desert view, maybe I really love that. I'm going to click and drag it down, and I'm going to hover right over this this transition between the Golden Streaks introduction and my screencasting clip, and I'm going to let it go. And you see that I have this option to insert and push it into my video, and I want to do that. And what this has just done is made this desert clip there so that people are starting to watch the intro, then they'll see the desert clip, and then they'll go into the screencasting. So just kind of a nice feature there. If you didn't want something that was moving, so like if I watch the preview, I can see that this is actually moving. It's a video. If I wanted to just do a still image instead, I could click on and search for desert, but instead of saying all, just say images, and then a whole bunch of choices for images will come up that you could also put into your presentation. So let's just say I like this one, and I'm going to drag it down into video 1 and insert and push it. And now I have this still image. But one thing to note about images is that you can still kind of add some visual effects to them, which can make your video just a little bit more interesting. So if I double click on the still image, it brings me to the editing section where I can do some editing with it. First of all, I have the option of making it smaller with the scaler. So I could slide it down. And if I wanted this image, say, up in the corner, so maybe I'm just kind of talking about it, referring to it, I could definitely do that. And I can slide it anywhere on the screen I want. For right now, we'll make it a little bit bigger. Another kind of neat thing that you can do with these, though, is to animate it. So I don't know if any of you all have seen a Ken Burns documentary, but Ken Burns is super famous for this. In fact, he's so famous for this, it's called the Ken Burns effect. And when he shows a picture in his documentaries, it kind of very slowly zooms in on that picture. So if we start with the image here, but then I click end, now I can slide my scaler and it'll zoom in just a little bit. And let's say I like that right there. If I click Save Changes, when I look at the preview on back in the dashboard view, you'll see that it's zooming in on that desert landscape, and that can just make a really nice little visual effect that you can use when you're creating these videos. So that's just kind of some really basic or some of the starting point things that you can do with WeVideo. And I know we covered a lot here, but the last thing I want to do before we turn this over and start answering people's questions, and of course, just to note too, this is all being recorded and will be shared with you. So if you need to go back and rewatch, that's perfectly fine. Or reaching out to any of your instructional tech coaches would be good too. I know this is done at blitz speed, but we want to make sure that there's enough time for questions too. So let's say we just love our video and we're done and we want to get this out there and share it with our students so that they can see the recording that we've created here. In the top right, there's going to be this blue finish button. And again, if you don't see your blue finish button, it probably just means that you're scrolled too far down. So just make sure you scroll up and then you're going to see the finish button. You know what, everyone? I totally forgot to say something that is super duper important. This whole time when I've created this video, I've had this view where I can see the different tracks, video 2, video 1, audio 1. For some reason, 10% of WeVideo users, and I'm absolutely sure that is the number, will not start on this view. And what you'll see, and I'll switch to it. Yeah, I know. What you'll see, can you switch for me, please? There we go. What you'll see is something that looks like this. You're going to see a magic wand and a music note and a microphone, and your video clips are going to be showing in these tiles. This is called storyboard mode, and I feel like it is just completely impossible to use. So if you see this, there's really no way you're going to be able to edit this thing well. So what you have to do is click on the 3 lines near the top left. A lot of folks call this a hamburger menu. And I click on that, and I'm going to go all the way down, and I'm going to say switch to timeline. Timeline is the view that you'll want to have in order for this to actually work. If you're in that storyboard mode, you're just not going to be able to have the editing that you need. So if you see that music note, if you see the magic wand, you click on the hamburger menu, you go down to switch to timeline, and then you'll be able to actually edit and create your videos, and it will save you a lot of headache. Now for 90% of you, you're going to see this right when you log in. For 10% of you, you're going to get the music note and magic wand, but it's just 2 clicks away for changing it to timeline view. So now we'll walk you through the finishing process. Sorry for that little digression there, but forgot to mention it earlier. So I'm going to click the finish button. And then it's always good to have a title. I mean, we don't really want the video to be called My Video 10. So amazing, desert video. What I would recommend doing when you're doing lessons for students for the continuous learning or giving them information is, you might want to include a date on here, or what concept it is, just something that really makes sense for your video, because they are going to end up seeing this. And then you get to set the title. It'll always just give you 3 options for a thumbnail. One of these is just like a big black screen, so I'm going to probably select the desert one. And what this is going to be is that this will show when people go to click the video. That's what they're going to see. So you'll just want to click the thumbnail that makes the most sense for what the video is about. You have choices of different resolution, whether it's standard or HD. For choosing these, at this point, since most people are going to be accessing these videos at home, and we don't really know what kind of bandwidth their home internet has, we probably want to keep the resolution down at standard. Normally when we're creating videos in school and people are watching them in school, I like to do HD, but it does take more bandwidth to watch those videos. So sticking with standard definition for the continuous learning at home is probably good. Then you can choose different destinations for the video to go. Automatically, it's going to make a WeVideo URL that people can click and watch it within the WeVideo player. And this will work whether people have a WeVideo account or not. You also have the option to save it to your Google Drive. I tend to like to do that because then you're able to share those Drive files. And if you're using Google Classroom or Canvas, you can upload the Drive files into Classroom and Canvas, and then your students can watch them directly in those 2 platforms. This would also work if you're using Seesaw to import the videos there, or you can just share the link. And then this last one is the YouTube icon. If you have a YouTube channel, you can select to send it to YouTube. There are some benefits to using YouTube. The ones that stand out most to me, if you don't have a YouTube channel yet, something to consider about setting one up would be that Google actually uses artificial intelligence to automatically create closed captions on videos. So it's just really nice to have that for accessibility. And then also with those closed captions, Google will translate them as they're displaying. So for families who don't speak English at home, it's an option there. And that would really only be available if you send it to YouTube, if you have a YouTube channel. Also, YouTube works really well on mobile devices. So just an option. In this case, I'm not gonna do that though, since this video isn't something that many people really need to see. And then
Jason?
Yeah, Brian.
I'm sorry, man. I wanted to mention one other benefit. Streaming from YouTube, they can optimize streaming. So if they have a lower bandwidth, they can reduce the frame rate.
Yeah, it really is worth looking into a YouTube channel. They're easier to set up than you'd think, and any of your instructional tech coaches can help you with that. If you're not comfortable with videos being on the internet for anybody on the entire planet to view, which I understand, you can select them as unlisted, and then only people that you share the link with would be able to view them. So there are some real benefits there. Anyway, when we're all good, we click export. It usually takes about, I don't know, between 3 and 5 minutes to finish the process, and it's going to look like this. And a cool thing about WeVideo is you don't have to sit here and watch it. You can exit out of here and go do something else, and it will still process, and it'll send you an email when that video is all done. So I know that was a whirlwind. We went through a ton of stuff. And we're really happy to help and support you when you do have questions. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to questions from you now that we can start showing. And if you do have any questions, please just go ahead and type them into the chat. So I'm trying to go back now to some of these. Let's see, how do you save it when you don't want to finalize it? Oh, awesome. Thank you for that question. So WeVideo will save automatically. I know in a lot of cases that feels really weird, and we want to just really make sure that it's saving. So in that hamburger menu, the 3 lines here, we can click on that, and we can click save, and then the video will save. And yeah, and Brian's saying you can use the keyboard shortcut Control S as well, and either option is outstanding. So if you're just
Jason,
not sure, yeah, do that. Yeah, Brian.
I don't know if you've observed this. I feel like if you are frequently saving, it helps if you're trying to go back to an earlier version. When I've just allowed it to do the autosave thing, I feel like I haven't been able to roll back to the earlier versions as easily.
Interesting. That's a good question. So if you wanted to go back and edit from your version history, saving often is going to help with that. I usually take my videos in one furious take, so I don't usually do that, but if you did need to go back, that would be a great way to do it. Can you record a video of yourself? Also, can you import a video made on a phone? Yeah, absolutely, you can. So in the My Media folder, there's this button that says import. And when I click import, I can pull videos from my Google Drive. I can pull videos that I have stored on my computer locally. If you made a video of yourself on your phone and you need to get it to your laptop, I found that really the most streamlined way to do that is to get the Google Drive app on your phone, and then move the video recording into Google Drive, and then you can pull it straight from Drive. So if I click import here, I can browse locally, or I can click on this Google Drive icon, and then it can import images or video from my drive. Also, I can record a video of myself directly from WeVideo. It's not going to let me do it now because I'm zooming, but when I click the record button, if I select webcam, right now it's going to give me an error, I believe. Maybe, or maybe just a black, yeah, see, I'm not allowed to do it right now, but that's because I'm zooming. But under normal circumstances, yes, you'd be able to click record, click webcam, and then make a video of yourselves. Thank you so much, Karen. Good luck at your next meeting. Thanks for being here. Any other questions while we're still here?
Jason, can you show the little zoom tool at the bottom below the tracks?
Yeah, I hope they can see it. So I'm going to guess that your zoom controls are covering this up, but in the very far lower right corner of your screen, and if you can see my cursor, it's where I'm at, but there's this little, oh sweet, thanks Ashley. There's this little blue handle, and I can click and slide that and zoom way in on my video if I need accuracy in editing. And I can also zoom it way out. And if you have a long video, like yesterday I was helping a couple of people make a video that ended up being just a little over an hour long. If we didn't zoom out, it would take like 1,000,000 years to move the playhead all the way out to the right toward the end of their video. So using the scaler to zoom out just can help tremendously. So it's in the lower right corner. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, and it just helps with the navigation a lot. Thank you for that, Brian. Anything else, or Brian, anything you're thinking that you'd like to add in?
No, Jason, I think you kind of when you've done lessons with students for teaching them the basics of WeVideo, you like to start kids off with stock media. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what that looks like.
Yeah, the stock media is a great place for kids to start just because there's so many images that are already in here. And so just, I mean, for example, a popular project that I've helped people with is, it's been mostly sixth graders actually, but that have completed like country reports. And so in the stock media tab on the top left, I put in desert before, but you can also, and I'm going to change the search so it's not filtered, so it'll just show all. If kids were, say, doing a country report and they typed in the name of their country, and I just typed Australia in, there's a lot of these video clips that you can use that are already preloaded and are free of copyright issues. So any of these can be included in your video. And if I say I really liked this video clip of the kangaroo in the sunset, I again can just drag and drop that where I want it. Let's just insert and push that. And then if I look at my preview, I see this really nice image of the kangaroo sitting there in the sunset. And there are, I want to say the number is 3 million stock footage clips to choose from here. How would you put a picture of yourself in one corner of the screen at the start and end? Oh, super question. So let me see if I actually just can't find a picture of myself. So I'm going to click on my media, and then I'm going to import a picture. And gosh, let me see if I can find, I guess the picture could really be of anything. We wouldn't necessarily have to have it be of me, but I'm going to go into my pictures folder. And I just do happen to have a picture of me. Hey, look at that. And so I'm going to import that one. And you can see there it is now in my library, so I can use it, and it's finished processing. So I'm going to click and drag this image down on video 2. Now, as we've talked about before, these video tracks, they're in layers. So video 2 is on top of video 1. And let's say I want to show myself when this kangaroo is going on. So right now, I can't see the kangaroo because my image covers up the entire screen. But what I can do is double click on that image and then click on this it doesn't actually really matter where I click, but what I do is I'm going to come into this pane. Let's see if I can resize it here. Okay. Why are you not cooperating with me?
I don't have this much trouble, Jason.
Yeah, we're going to try this one more time. It should just scale it down. Maybe it's saying like, hey, that guy in that picture, we need it full size. It's changing the size of my caption. Why on earth is it doing that? Well, thanks for bearing with me, everybody. We're going to get this figured out. It's like it thinks it's text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had my video off. The way that I do that to get it in the corner is if you go, to your picture, and then I just click the editing pencil.
Yeah, thanks, Rose. I got it. What was wrong is I was looking at I accidentally clicked the caption icon. What we want to do is click the transform icon. Right. That was the problem. Now we have the video in here, and I can click at the corner, resize the thing, and when you're, go figure, when you're in the right spot, it's easy. So then just resize it, click it up in the corner, and then it can play while you're doing that. You also have other options. I mean, if you wanted to rotate yourself and be upside down, that's there for you too. And then when you like where that is, you can save the changes. And then one thing really neat too, because Joan, I think you mentioned you wanted it at the beginning and the end, is something that a lot of folks don't know is like if this picture is exactly where I want it on the screen for both the beginning and the end of the video, as long as it's highlighted in orange, I can use the keyboard shortcut Control-C to copy that little clip and then slide all the way over to where I want to put it next. And I just, oops, I forgot to grab the playhead. I can slide the playhead all the way over to where I want it to go at the end. As long as I'm clicked on the playhead where I want it, I can use the paste shortcut Control V, and you can see that that clip is there now too. And if I look at it in the preview, you can see it up in the corner. So that's a nice way to do that if you wanted it at the beginning and the end.
Jason, there was a question about audio editing. Maybe you can show a little bit more. You showed how to like reduce the volume for the whole track. How would you maybe raise the volume for just a little portion and then lower it again?
Yeah, so that feature is totally available. So I put in this melancholic piano track. I'm going to click on it so it's highlighted in orange, and I'm going to scroll down so hopefully y'all can see it. Right now, I've lowered basically the whole track to just at an 8% volume. But if I wanted to put a little crescendo in here, I could just slide along the track and click where I wanted the volume to maybe increase a little bit. And you'll notice when I clicked there, it put in another little white handle. And I can click and lift that up. And then that means the music will start low and rise a little bit. And if I want it to stay at that level for a while, I can click again and have that be consistent, a consistent volume. And then I can move this thing out, the playhead out a little more and click again. And wherever I'm clicking, it's putting in a new handle where I can adjust that volume and turn it down. So you do have a lot of control with volume and where you want to rise and lower. And so this can be really neat too if you have a video where, I mean, just this one I was working on yesterday, there were portions of the video where there was just a screen that was instructing the participants to pause the video. And so you could have this very quiet music track through the whole thing, but maybe where there's just a screen where there's no voiceover and telling participants to pause, you could increase the volume a little bit and then turn it back down when that part is over. So quite a bit of control as you go through with these different handles. And then of course you can slide these handles around wherever you'd like to. So yeah, absolutely, you can do that. Also, you can cut these tracks wherever you want too. So if you say only wanted that part of the track, we could cut it. Just make sure the audio track is the one that's highlighted, and then we can edit within that specific clip, and then move over to this other one as well. Yeah, thank you. All right, so we have covered a lot here. Are there any other questions before we close out? I notice we have a little less than 10 minutes here. If you hadn't had a chance to yet, do make sure that you, oh, I see a question. How do we uncut? So you can use the keyboard shortcut Control Z, or right here, there's the little arrow. It's toward the left, and that will undo. So if I was like, whoops, I didn't want to cut that, I can click this undo arrow, and it's adjusting my volume right now because it's literally going back. But hey, like magic, when I click that arrow, the clip is back together. Also, you can always just come back up to the library and drag the track back in.
Jason, because it's a non-destructive editor, in the tracks itself, let's say you cut a portion off on the left side, you can click and hold on the right side and just drag the clip back again. So it's not really getting deleted, is it?
You're right, Brian. So what Brian's saying, and this is kind of a nice feature too. Like, let's say I'm working on this far end of the song, and I click here, and I click the scissors, and I'm like, I just don't want this anymore. And then I realize, whoops, I added a bunch of video, and I need the song to be longer. If I click on that audio track and hover over the right-hand side of it, so I have that double-sided arrow, and click and drag to the right, when I do that, it's bringing back the portion of that clip that I cut out before. So that's another nice option too. I do see a question on the chat about transitions. Yeah, transitions are great. You can transition between different clips, and it will give you like fade in and fade out, and actually a lot of different effects. So they're right here. The one thing I'd caution about transitions is they do really weird things with audio. So if you have voiceover and it's going like from the start of your clip to the very end and you put a transition in, it can make the audio kind of weird. So if you just make sure that your voiceover, you leave like a second or two on either side of your track before you put the transition in, that usually works, because when you put a transition in, it actually cuts small portions of the clips on either side of the transition. But what you do is, first of all, you can click on these to see what they look like. So you can see how that kind of faded between the cityscape and a waterfall. And if I really like that crossfade transition, I can click and drag it and put it right in the crack between these two clips. And you'll notice it like actually cuts away some of the clip. And that's why it can do those weird things with audio, and you just want to leave room for that if you use transitions. But now if we watch in our preview pane, when I click play from one clip to the next, you're going to see that it fades into the next one. So that's kind of how transitions work. I just caution using them with if you have narration. That's where it can get kind of weird. All right. So I do just want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to fill out that form. So Brian, do you mind posting the link to the form in the chat one more time for us? Awesome. Thanks, Brian. We've got about 5 more minutes. Anything else before? Makes transitions weird, but not music. Yeah. So it doesn't affect the audio track, but if your narration goes specifically with what you're looking at on the video clips, it won't really cut out the words you're saying on your voiceover track, but it makes this transition so you're talking about things that maybe it's not showing in the video any longer. And if the, say, video that you imported already has the sound in it, so for example, if you recorded with your webcam on like just video 1 directly and you're talking, it will literally just cut out that audio that's built into the video track. With the music track, it'll just play right through your transition, and that won't be an issue. So yeah, it is true that it can make the narration a little bit weird, but not the music. Brian, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I was just, I'll tell you, I rarely, if ever, use transitions. Kids love them, but I like straight cuts. But if you really needed a transition, you could layer the very same video above it, right? And then mute portion. I don't know. It's probably not worth the effort, but you could add a transition with that little portion and just mute the audio for that second copy of the clip.
And the nice thing too is you can always undo it. So if you try putting in a transition and you're like, oh my gosh, this totally cut out my audio, one click on this little undo button will bring it back for you. So, you know, you can test it out and see how well you like it. I heard that we can use our document cameras to record. Can those connect to the webcam on WeVideo? I know for absolute certain that they can connect to Zoom, and people have had some success with that as long as they're connecting. The total trick with using your document camera and using Zoom to record is that you need to make sure you have the right USB cable running from your document camera to your laptop. I don't know if when you go into My Media and you select record, because our only options are the webcam and the screen and webcam. And unfortunately, I don't have a document camera in my home to test it out. I don't know if an additional source would be added here, but you could use your document camera to record with a different platform like Zoom, and then save that video clip and import it into WeVideo and then edit it in this platform. And that is about the extent of what I know right this second. Brian, anything to add there? Yeah, but it does work. Zoom will pick it up if you use Zoom to record from your document camera, and I do know several teachers that are doing that. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, for being here with us today. It's always fun to see everybody and hear from you all. Kylan, the specific cable totally depends on the type of webcam or .cam rather that you have. I'll send you the instructions after this is over. So again, thank you all so much. Oh, can you turn off sound or audio from a video? Yeah, yep, yeah, you can. So when you're in these video tracks, you're able to click on those 3 dots and click mute track, and then you can turn off that audio. And that can actually be really helpful sometimes. Yep.
Jason, any details about the kind of USB cable? Off the top of my head, I wonder if there's 3.0 versus 2.0.
It totally depends on the brand of .cam, and I got these directions from Jim Raymond at the help desk, and I put together a document about it.
Okay. Stacy is suggesting that you can select the source, at least with an Aver dot camera. So that's cool. Maybe when you've got that other, it'll show up as another input. So I haven't seen it before, but it would probably list other available cameras. So webcam and then a USB attached device.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend trying it. I mean, at worst, it just won't show up, and then you could use a different platform and import it. Yeah. Yep. All right, everyone. So make sure you do fill out that form if you want to collect clock hours. Really appreciate you all being here. It's always fun to do these. And have an awesome rest of your day, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I will remember to stop recording.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.